Welcome to How We Met. I'm Sheryl Strich, and every month we'll be meeting with couples from Laguna Woods who come on the show to tell us how they met. Today in the studio we have Annette and Jerry Berkowitz. Well, hi guys, how are you? Thanks for coming in.
We're thrilled to be here.
Thanks for having us.
I have a quick question for you. Where are you from?
Well, I'm from the Bronx or New Jersey. My family lived in New Jersey. I was born and raised in the Bronx and New York.
Believe it or not, so was I.
Yeah.
Really? Which part?
I was born in the Bronx and I grew up in Pompton Lakes, New Jersey.
Oh. So you're the opposite.
I'm the opposite. And what
Right.
about you, Jerry?
I was born in the Bronx, northeast part of the Bronx, yes.
Well, how long have you been in Laguna Woods?
Well, we moved here permanently about 2 years ago, October, and before that, about 5 years, we were snowbirding and rented during the winter months, but lived in New Jersey.
Okay.
And that's when we met friends, and that's when I learned to play pickleball, and we learned to love it.
The last question I have for you is, how long have you been a couple?
Been a couple. Okay, well, we've been married for 59 years.
Okay.
And we met 5 years previous to that.
Ooh, okay.
I'm not sure we were a couple the entire 5 years, but a good part of it, for sure. So we're going way back.
I guess you are. Before we go into your story, Jerry, I hear you're a master chess player.
It is a hobby that I really enjoy, and I've been playing chess for many, many years since I was a youngster. Yes.
Perfect. And you sometimes do Meals on Wheels along
Yeah.
with playing pickleball?
Yeah, when they call me.
Okay.
I haven't been called that much, but I think it's really a worthy cause. I headed up in New Jersey, and I think it's a worthy cause.
Now, tell me, how did you meet?
How did we meet? Okay. So, I was 15. I was a junior counselor in Highland Mills, New York, which is kind of at the base of the Catskills. And there was it was a bungalow colony and a camp. It was a pretty large place.
Were your parents there?
My mother was there with my sister and brother and my aunt. We shared a bungalow with my aunt and her 2 kids. And
Did your dad come in on the weekends?
when he could.
Okay.
Yeah. And and it was the beginning of the summer, and we were sitting by the canteen, all of us junior counselors, and bemoaning the fact that there were just no guys around. I mean, here at 15, you know, especially in those days. I think today might be a little different. Anyway, when this van pulls up, an enclosed van, and the guy comes in and says, "Where's the movie theater?" Movie theater? There's no movie theater. What do you mean there's no movie theater? Where's the movie theater? No movie theater here. You're, okay, never mind. Where's the bowling alley? He says. Bowling alley? There's no bowling alley here. So we said, you know, you're on a private road. This is Scunnamunk Road. You know, this is a
That
private.
was the name of the road, by the way.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
never forgot that.
Right.
Scuttermonk Road. Yes.
Yeah. This is a private road. What are you doing here? He said, what is this place? And we told him what it was. And he said, what's the name of it? We said, Camp Lebanon. And he said, oh, all right, wait a minute. He goes to the back of the van. He opens the doors and he says, guys, girls. And they come rolling out.
Literally, it was a clown car full of kids. We were about 7 or 8 boys from the camp. We were on our first night out, and we were supposed to go to a movie theater. And
So let's hear your version.
well, my version is the same thing. We trusted the driver.
Where were you coming from?
We were coming from a camp a few miles away in the same area. It was a boys' camp, and we had worked for several weeks preparing the bunks and cleaning it out. Very rustic conditions. It's a very rural area at the time, probably still is. And the driver got completely lost. So we never were able, he was going to give us our big night out. And
You were going to the movies?
yeah.
Or the bowling alley?
We were first we had to find a town that had a movie, and he made some wrong turns, and we ended up at the Lebanon bungalow colony, and then the next thing I know, he threw the doors open, and we saw some
And
very...
he came, I mean, they came, and I chose this one and wiped them off.
Were you 15 also?
No. I was almost 19 at the
Oh,
time. Yeah,
oh.
yeah.
Yeah, an older man.
I was going into my second year of college, and we started to talk, and then it mentioned about 500 kids that I never heard of, but she knew, and that started the whole process. And then the question became how we could continue to see each other, since it was difficult to get around. We didn't have transportation and so on.
But you were both living in the Bronx at that. Oh, you were in New Jersey.
No, we were both living in the Bronx, but
Okay.
we wanted to see each other. It was only the beginning of the summer, so
Oh,
we had
Yeah.
to try to figure out a way. And he figured it out. I'm still trying to remember how he got
Well, I guess
there.
I mooched rides off some of the older guys who worked at the camp to get to see Annette during the summer. We had exchanged address. There was no cell phones, no texting, so everything was done by handwritten letters. And we got back to the city at the end of the summer. I was able to get to see her in the Bronx on occasion when we dated. Yeah.
But during the summer, I mean, like, he came to get me and we went canoeing on his lake. Let me tell you something. There's nothing romantic about canoeing, watching somebody's back, the first time when you don't really know them and trying to, But, but I knew he may have liked me because when his mother came up to visit him at camp, his mother and brother, he brought them over to meet me.
Oh,
So I
Yes,
knew
I-
that maybe he
yeah.
liked me, yeah.
So, okay, the first meeting, were you excited?
Oh, well, let me tell you how excited I was.
She was very
I
excited.
ran up to tell my mother about this. I ran into the clothesline,
At
and I
night?
almost slit it was night, and I almost slit my throat. So, yes, I was excited. Yeah, absolutely.
So being married 59 years later.
No, we were married 64 years later.
Well,
Oh, okay, right,
We
60.
dated. It took 5 years before she completed college, and I was ready
Okay.
as well. So yeah, it was a long engagement.
It was a long
period.
engagement. Well, you were pretty young.
Yeah, it was a long dating period. We were engaged about a year before we got married. Yeah,
What a nice, I love this story.
it's an interesting story. It's a little different. Yeah.
I have never met people, even though I'm from upstate New York.
Yeah.
We moved from Pompton Lakes to Spring Valley.
Yeah,
That's considered
right.
upstate. I never met a Catskill couple before.
Really? Interestingly
right.
enough, just as an aside, my sister also met her husband in the mountains.
Yeah.
He was playing in a band, and she was like I was.
I guess your parents were really smart taking you up to the
We
Catskills.
went up every summer. It was,
I guess
it was
they
the
were,
thing. Yeah, yeah.
So being married 59 years later, how many kids do you have?
We have 3 kids and 6 grands.
And are they all here?
Actually, we have 3 plus 1 because my daughter-in-law is like my kids. So okay.
So are they all in this area? Is this why you moved to the Laguna Woods?
This is why we moved to the woods. But we have 3 of them. First of all, let me tell you that our grandkids range in age from 10 to 23. She's almost 24. Yeah.
4 of the 6 do live in California.
Yeah.
There are still 2 grandchildren and a son living in New Jersey. But yes, the majority are here. Yeah.
I think a lot of people move here because their kids are in this
Yeah.
area. I have to thank you for the pictures that you sent, which we can't see right now, but they'll show up when everybody sees this taping. The pictures were great. I love seeing your wedding pictures. I love seeing you when you were graduating from Hunter College.
No, he graduated
CCNY, and you graduated from Hunter.
Correct,
I love
yeah.
seeing those pictures. It was just really cute. I spent a lot of time working on those pictures and getting to see your families and realizing just when people are so young, all the promise and all the stuff that they can look forward to, and now we're here. We've lived through
true.
it with all the promise and the
Lived through-
stuff.
Yeah,
And who
and-
knew that you would have 3 kids?
You're right. And we're very thankful
Right.
for that we're still here.
Right, right.
We really
Yes.
are. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been great. Is there anything else you want to tell me?
No, but we love living here. We are excited to continue life here. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, I have June Easton and Bobby Seaton with me today. Hey guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to have you on the show. Bobby, I've played pickleball with you a lot. You always beat me.
But we've won a couple times.
We have won, when we're partners, we have won a few times. And I'm getting used to playing with a left-handed pickleball player when I play with you. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. Where are you guys from? I know you're from different places, so Bobby, you go first.
I'm from Kansas, but I came to California when I was 6 years old in Petaluma, California. So I lived there till I graduated, you know. And since then, I've just lived all over the place.
Okay, I know that. You've lived in Hawaii, right? And Mexico?
I lived on the island of Kauai for 7 years altogether, and I lived in Mexico and Guadalajara for 3 years, and I lived in Guatemala for a year. And
I knew you lived in Mexico because whenever we play pickleball and you beat me, you always go lo siento.
That's right. Lo siento.
June, where are you from?
Oh, well, I'm originally from Saskatchewan, Canada.
Ah, okay.
And then when I was 12, my parents moved to Rochester, New York. We moved to Rochester, New York. And I lived for many years in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And then I lived many different places. I lived in Atlanta. I lived in Iowa. I lived in California.
Catskills.
The Catskills. Those were my gypsy years. Oh. Where I just literally went wherever I felt beckoned and called, and until I gradually ended up in Coos Bay, Oregon, and that's where Bobby and I met.
I know I gave Bobby a hard time just now about playing pickleball and tennis, but I didn't say anything about you with what you do online.
Oh, well, I'm a life coach, and I have clients locally, but also all over the country because I do it on the phone. And so it's great fun. I work with people just with their ordinary problems, with relationship issues, and I've been doing it for years, and I love it.
Good, good.
It's really fun.
All right. How long have you guys been in Laguna Woods?
Oh, we moved here in 1998, so that was 25 years ago.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, long time.
we're the old timers.
I guess you are.
Yeah.
Well, how long have you been a couple?
Since
91.
I can't tell you how, you have to tell me the number because I can't figure that out right away.
32 years.
32 years, okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. How did you meet?
Well, it's kind of a long, convoluted story. It starts back when I retired in 1979 and moved to Hawaii. And right after I'd been to Kauai for about a week, there was this watershed moment, which is a moment that when it happens, you never know that it's going to end up in many years later with this woman. But when I moved there, I met this lady, and she gave me this book written by this man named Ken Keyes. And he had a personal growth workshop center in Coos Bay, Oregon. And I read this book, and it just became like my Bible. I mean, I just carried it around with me for years, just studying it. And I thought, I've got to meet this guy. So finally, years later, after traveling around, and I had an opportunity to go to Coos Bay and meet Ken Keyes in 1991. So that was June of 1991, after all these years. And who do you suppose I met the very first week I was there? So
Yeah.
I'll tell how you...
Well, I had been studying Ken Keyes, his books, for quite a few years, and I had taken a workshop there. And so my life just was such that that's where I felt drawn. And I ended up in June of '91 at the Ken Keyes Center in Coos Bay, Oregon, which is where we met.
And it was an interesting place because right away they put her in charge. We had about 10 trainers, and people would come from all over the world to take classes there. And And they put her in charge of the trainers, and they put me in charge of the book room. So I was running this book room selling Ken's books. And I was there on a volunteer basis, and they actually hired her. And but when you go to a place like this, there's about 40 people that live there on a full-time basis. And so we come in June of 1991. We're the new guys on the block, you know, and there's all these little cliques. So because we both arrived the same week, we just kind of started hanging out together. And 2 months later, I said, hey, you know something? I think I like you.
And what did you say?
Ditto. Yeah, it was a great place. There was, you can imagine this community. There were about 40 volunteers, and then all these people that came from all over the country to take the workshops. And the building had been a hospital at one time. It was a 4-story building, and now it was taken over and was called the Ken Kai Center. And so all of us lived on the 4th floor. And so the first time I met Bobby was one evening in June of '91, and we were in the 4th floor kitchen, just hanging out. And all of a sudden, Bobby walked in with a buddy, and they had just been to see a movie, The City Slickers, I remember. And I remember what he was wearing. He was wearing brown corduroy pants and a wool plaid Pendleton jacket, shirt, Pendleton shirt. And
What were you wearing?
I have no idea. I have no idea. And Bobby has a very big personality, and he walked into the room, and immediately there were about 6 people there, and immediately his presence just filled the room. And one of the things that really drew me to him is that he's very much out there and really kind of outrageous at times. And that very first time, I don't know if you remember this, but all of the people there were like in their 40s or 50s, and they were all...
Were you guys in your 40s and 50s?
Yeah,
Oh.
I was 50, he was 56.
Okay.
And so, and everybody was divorced. And so what he did was he started adding up how many years people had been, the total of how many years people had been married, and it was 136 years. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
So that was one of the things that really attracted me was his outrageousness and his enthusiasm for life, I guess I would say.
So how long did this retreat last?
We lived there. It was not a retreat. We actually lived there. Yeah, he was working in the book room. I was in charge of training the people who led the workshops.
Okay.
And so we lived there for 3.5 years.
Well, till 94.
Till 94, yeah.
And Coos Bay is a wonderful place, but it's hard to get people to come there in the wintertime. And so finally the center just kind of went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So we had to start off on a new life someplace.
So were you a couple at that point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were already a couple. And so first we went to Marquette, Michigan, where she had lived for years, coldest place I've ever lived in my life. And we were taking care of her mother, who was getting old. And we stayed there for a while, and then we went to Fairfield, Iowa, to the Maharishi International University. And we both did transcendental meditation, so we decided to look into it a little more, and we ended up staying there in a 1960 trailer court called Utopia Village. So that from there we went to the Catskills and went to another personal growth, spiritual place called, what was that called? Pathwork Center.
Pathwork Center.
And then I ended up getting a job down in Mexico at a spa called Rio Caliente, right outside of Guadalajara. I was the hike leader, and June came with me, and then right after that is when I moved into Laguna Woods Village. We ended up here,
Oh.
and that was in 1998. It was called Leisure World then,
Right.
and so we've been here ever since. We like to travel, and we've been many countries, and like to play pickleball with you.
Play pickleball, tennis,
And tennis.
and tennis championships, tennis nationals.
Pickleball, too.
Pickleball.
Played in 2 national championships over in Indian Wells. in
I will
pickleball.
have other people on the show who are not pickleball players, but
Speaking of pickleball, you know, I do a class every Tuesday.
oh, that's right.
From in the Clubhouse 1 gym, and that's from 4 to 6. So if anybody's interested that's viewing this program, they're always free to,
And for beginners.
and it's for beginning.
You've been doing this for quite a while,
Yeah, I've been doing it for about 6 years now.
and it's really appreciated. It's
Yeah.
really
And
appreciated.
it's fun.
Right.
I enjoy meeting all the new people, and
Right.
it's great to see them playing pickleball later on. I see them after they've actually gotten beyond
Right.
the rules
Right, right.
and keeping score.
Right. Anyway, this has been great. Oh, you know what? Those pictures you sent me, we can't see them, but the viewers will be able to see them. They were
Oh.
great. I really appreciated those pictures, and I really enjoyed working with them. I had to edit them from what you sent to me, but they were really wonderful to see, and to see what you guys looked like when you were in your 50s.
Right.
You know, we all change, but you went from straight hair to curly hair back to sort of straight hair.
That's right, yeah.
So anyway, I just want to thank you guys for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It's been great talking to you. Thanks so much.
Oh, it's been our pleasure. Thank you so much for having us on.
Do you know, I just thought of something else that
Okay.
would be fun to share if there's time. Bobby and I did a relationship vision, and we did this many years ago. We each wrote down separately what was really important and what we wanted in our relationship, and then we sat together and put it together, and we actually printed it out and have it on our wall.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
And it works.
Well, it's something that we read periodically, and
She has to keep pointing out some of the things. Bobby! Oh, no. Okay, I get it.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. It's been great.
Thank you.
thank you, Cheryl.
If you'd like to come on to the show, email us at lwvcouples@gmail.com. Include your name, phone number, and email address, and a brief description of your story.